So, Dr. J, do you have any advice for me for if I have a budget, but I am just having a hard time staying on it? What are some tips and tricks I can use?
Yeah, each of these may not fit you in particular, but let's kind of work through some of them. So, one of my favorite tips and tricks for budget is the use of prepaid debit cards. Now, you can get these at the grocery store, Walmart, wherever. You can refill them all you want, but it's a modern way of doing the envelope system for budgeting. So, you fill the debit card with whatever amount of money and then take your credit cards off of everything. So, let's use Amazon because that's my problem area. So, Amazon has made one click and purchasing so easy that you have no clue how much you're spending. So what you do, you set a budget item for $100 for Amazon. By the way, that's probably low, but let's go with it. And you put it on a debit card, put it on Amazon, and you can never spend more than that because it runs out. Now, that means you have to think a little bit harder. And what's really going to happen is you'll use it up in your first 2 weeks. And then you'll be like, well, but now do I buy anything on Amazon? Well, you got to think about this. Let's go further on Amazon. There are things I buy on Amazon that are a whole lot cheaper elsewhere. But I buy it on Amazon because I have Prime and it just shows up at my house. Maybe instead of like buying my cleaning supplies on Amazon, I buy them when I go shopping at the grocery store. And then people are like, well, but the grocery stores are a problem for me. They're a problem for many people. A couple things in grocery stores. If you can, consider doing curbside pickup. Place the order in advance of just what you need. Now, grocery stores are set up to encourage you to impulse buy. Do you do impulse buying, Katie?
Yeah, I do. Especially if I'm hungry, I will end up buying a lot more like snacky type foods that I wouldn't normally have around.
Or the sales. This is where me and my wife have this problem on sales. I'm like, that is not a sale. It looks like one, but it's not. Buy 3, get 1 free. But I only needed 2. So now I end up with 4 of them. So this is the game they play. So curbside pickup is a great way to cut your costs because you're only going to buy what you ordered. Now, people say, well, should I buy in bulk? Well, that's a great idea. So we got Costco, we got BJ, Sam's, whatever store you like. All right, here's the problem. The problem is you can have a grocery budget, go into Costco, and end up buying a kayak. I mean, literally, they're hanging from the walls. I mean, you're laughing because you know what happens on this.
Oh, yeah, I don't even go in Costco. For 2 people, everything is too overwhelming.
You can get good deals. I'm more of a meat eater. I like buying bulk meat there. It's usually cheaper per pound. Works fine. As long as you don't buy the kayak on the way. Yeah, games, TVs, all that stuff. And people go, well, my grocery bill's through the roof. And I go, yeah, because you spent $1,000 at Costco. Well, yeah, I also bought, like, new tires for the car are not groceries. That's just, it gets lumped together and it gets justified. We can add a little more danger to this one. Some of those Costco, Sam's also have a liquor store with them. So you're like, oh yeah, I spent $500 on my groceries, but $250 of it was in the liquor. Part of what we're doing with the budget tips and tricks is putting guidelines and structure around you. We don't want you to be spending money mindlessly. Everything has to have a purpose. So some other things. See if you can put your monthly bills all to one account on auto pay. What I like to do, once you got enough money, is you have this monthly musts account. And let's say your monthly bills are $3,000 a month. You put $3,000 in, and then each month you add a little. So what will happen is that $3,000 means you always have enough for your monthly bills, even if your paychecks are a little weird for the month. Some of the other things you have to do with the budgets, tips, tricks is you may have to hide the money from yourself. So that might mean putting it into your savings, into your retirement, into another account. One little challenge on that. This is where we can get into some issues with spouses of hiding money from the other spouse. There's actually a term called financial infidelity, which is cheating with money. It's actually a rather big issue. That's why when we do the budget meetings and we're looking at budget, we're always doing it together. So we're hiding it from us, but not, our parents used to do this. It was like the Christmas savings funds. They had those, they put it in the side and they had the savings account for that. That's the same type of thing we can do ourselves. And at the same time, you need to get out of the habit of using debt. So credit cards are budget busters because you don't feel the pain. If I gave you $100 bills and you had to hand over cash $100 bills for everything you bought, you'd feel more oomph. We're talking about dining out many times. And If I have to hand over a $50 bill for that meal, it feels different than just signing my name. And here's another one at dining out. I don't know about you, but sometimes you go out with friends and you feel generous. Oh, I'll take care of that for you. Next thing you know, you got a $200 dining out bill when you had planned on budgeted at 60. So if we're going to do that, we set a budget for what we're willing to spend, and that's it. And while we're there, some people, many people, get stuck in this giving gifts to give love or show their love. They buy stuff for people to show their love. If you're doing that now, it needs to get cut back. The reality is, if you stopped buying gifts for people and they stopped hanging around you, they were probably not your friends to start. Let's just be real on that. But you got to watch that gift giving, and it's got to be within a budget. Does that make sense, Katie?
Yeah, I think one thing that's coming up for me is that I have some family members who make a lot more than me, and I've noticed that what they have in their budget for, say, like a birthday present for someone might be different than what I plan to spend. And sometimes I feel like you talked about the keeping up with other people or comparison. Then I feel like I'm being cheap if I don't spend as much as they're spending on, like a birthday present for a niece or nephew or something.
I had somebody explain this to me. They said they were in an arms race for gifts. I bought a $50, so they bought a $60, then bought a set. And I'm like, wow. So I said to them, I said, when's it going to stop? And they're like, well, and it just gets stuck. We also, as child-free folks, get stuck in what I call the financial bingo, which is, well, you're child-free, so you can, and fill in this blank. You can support mom. You can buy my kid a PlayStation. You can. No. Okay? The reality is they don't get a vote in your money. You don't get a vote in theirs. Now, you're right. We're going to have that ego hit. But here's the thing. Katie, when somebody gives you a gift, is it the amount they spent or the thought that matters?
Oh, absolutely the thought.
Cool. Is that what you do when you give people gifts? Is it about the thought or the amount you spend?
I actually do consider myself a very thoughtful giver, and I've been told that I am. So I do try to put a lot of thought behind what I get for people. And oftentimes I've been moving towards getting experiences for people instead of a physical thing.
Yep. So then guess what? If somebody else spent more money, who cares? You put more thought and care into your gift. By the way, that one's an adulting thing that we all have to get through our head. If you got siblings, what? You got that from mom? Now I look bad. We get stuck in those. Me and my sister, we used to give gifts back and forth. We're both just spending the same amount of money. Just let's stop and just buy yourself whatever you want. And it's worked great for about a decade. So hopefully we stick with it. We know the meaning. We're yep, okay, we're doing the same this year. That works. When you're giving $50 gift cards to each other back and forth, it's a giant waste of time and money. I think the thing with your budget is to look and see where you're having the issue, and then you have to change something. If you're spending your money on gifts, each month you need to get less. And if you're a big gift giver, or you just need to budget and say, hey, for example, Christmas comes the same time every year. There's no surprise that in December I'm going to spend money if I'm celebrating Christmas. Well, let's put aside a certain amount each month. That way I'm not spending it all on Christmas. The other thing is, especially with gifts, for your family, have the conversation of really, do we want to keep doing this? Or can we just all, get to that $20 gift and go, hey, I got you something, thought of you, or even just a card. I know that sounds weird, but when we're adults, we could just give each other cards and show our thought.
Yeah, we actually, me and my siblings and whoever has spouses as well, we've started doing a just gift exchange where we have a theme every year. Somebody else picks the theme, and we have a $25 limit on spending, and then we do a white elephant exchange. And so that's been a nice way to be able to just buy one gift for all the siblings and spouses. So yeah, I think there's some ways you can get creative with it, and we really like that.
And that's the whole point. We're talking about budget tips and tricks. It's about what works for you. Essentially, if you've made the same mistake 2 months in a row, you need to change something.